Okay.
The way to keep the timer down a little
Right. But this is what we got.
I could.
I don't know.
That or that.
I don't know.
It's supposed to be a national debate.
Yeah.
Not this going on, but presidential election.
Exactly.
If, at some point, if we wait for like an actual countdown timer too.
Oh yeah, that'd be sick.
For that.
So all we have is the 40-second one.
One that I have in my mind. Or less than
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome all of you to the first in a series of town hall Q&As. We're going to bring you as many candidates as we can between now and November. I'm Russ with the Russ VanWormer radio show that you can hear on DCandCompanyRadio.com every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 o'clock. If everybody would rise with me right now, turn around, we're going to acknowledge the flag with this pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. What we're doing tonight is giving you an opportunity to meet the candidates that you will have the opportunity to vote for on November 5th. We're trying to cover as many different races as we can. We want you to know what you're voting for, who you're voting for, and maybe figure out why you're voting for them. That's what tonight and every night we do after this is going to be all about. So right now we are going to start. We're going to have Rich. You want to go first?
Oh.
We're going to give Rich 2 minutes. He's going to explain what he wants to have coming. What do you need? Oh, am I early? Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot. We're ready to go. Now we're down to 8 seconds. I'm not used to that. We just, we have our radio station. When you're ready, you're ready.
We'll give you one of those, and then that's when we're officially
Okay,
going.
that's fantastic. What we're going to do real quick, I'll tell you, I am going to be showing them upside down cards with their questions on them. It's the luck of the draw. We get your question picked. It will be talked about by each candidate for 2 minutes. So they're going to start with 2 minutes, no question, just speaking on their own. In 10, 9, 8.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome all of you to this town hall Q&A. We're talking to the 2 gentlemen that are candidates for the position of Lorain County Sheriff. We're going to have Rich Resendez speak first. Jack Hall will speak next. They will have 2 minutes apiece. Then we will begin asking questions. Rich, go ahead.
Thank you, Russ. Everybody hear me? You good? My name is Rick Resendez. I'm a Democratic candidate for the position of sheriff here in Lorraine County. Throughout the election cycle, you're going to hear the word experience. Experience here, experience there. This candidate has experience, this candidate has experience. And that's what it's about, experience. My experience is here in Lorraine County. It's always been in Lorraine County. 40 plus years in Lorraine County. I've always been a Lorraine County law enforcement officer. 27 years at the Lorraine Police Department, 10 years at the Lorraine County Sheriff's Office. Doing the job that I'm applying to, that I'm asking for your vote to do. I've done that job. I was the captain in charge of the law enforcement division, and subsequently, I was the captain in charge of the corrections division. I know the job. I've worked my way through the ranks to that position. But after I left that position, I worked at the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, the prison. More experience in the corrections division, one of the biggest divisions in the sheriff's office. So look at my experience, and that's all I'm asking you to do. I'm asking voters to do. Look at my experience. If you like my experience, I appreciate your vote. If you don't think I can fit the bill, because the sheriff's job is a very important job. If you don't think I can fit the bill, then you should vote for somebody else. But I strongly believe if you look at my experience, look what I've done, I think I'm the right choice for this position. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Hall.
Thank you, Russ. I'm Jack Hall, and Russ, I want to thank you for moderating this night, and BC and Company Radio, residents of the 5th Ward of Elyria, and everybody that is in here tonight. Because one of the things that we need to explain is that this is not about us. This race has two candidates that are completely different. There is no incumbent this year. We're both coming in, running for the first time this year for this position. And this is all about you as residents of Elyria, residents of Lorraine County. And we talk about experience, Rich had alluded to that, and I have 33 years in Northeast Ohio. I started my career in the village of Sheffield, went to Avon Lake, got promoted to Lieutenant Sergeant in Avon Lake, and engaged in investigating public corruption. Many of you may be familiar with that, with the mayoral office and several of our offices in the county. And fortunately, with that experience, I got to take that to the Cleveland Metro Parks. At that time was known as the Ranger Department. Now it's the Cleveland Metro Parks Police Department. That department is the largest regional law enforcement agency in the state of Ohio. And with that, Captain of Special Operations, I oversaw the mounting unit, the watercraft enforcement unit, the detectives, the task force teams, the auto theft and traffic units that were taking place with that, and also the natural resources enforcement unit. That encompassed 5 counties surrounding greater Cleveland, including Lorraine County. With that, I had the opportunity to work with the Cuyahoga County Sheriff's Office, the Cleveland Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Secret Service, and had the opportunity to conduct many large-scale investigations with those agencies. So when we talk about experience as a candidate, it's not about me, it's not about Rich, it's about all of you, and the service that we can provide all of you, the citizens of Lorraine County. The fact that you're even here tonight, the fact that we have people watching on TV, is important for all of us because you're engaged in this election and you want to know what's going on. So for that, I thank all of you. You should also give yourself a big round of applause for being engaged, being interested, and thank you for having us here.
All right, once again, starting with Rich, you get to pick a card, any card, hand me the card. I will read the question on the card. Ladies and gentlemen, if you mention either candidate's name on your question, it will not be read. I want you to know that. So, with that being said, pick a card, any card. All right, this is for both of you. We're going to start with Rich. How would you handle finding out an employee of the department used the computer for personal business or inappropriate emails?
Thank you. The county computer system is the county computer system. It's for county business, it's for the performance of your duties. If you use that system, or you can use anything that is county property in an unauthorized position, you have to be held accountable. We've had several cases throughout the last couple of years when the county went to a countywide record system. I'll give you an example. A countywide record system where all the police departments are dumping their information into a central record, just to allow the sharing of information. Well, what had happened was curious eyes got into that system, maybe just because of boredom, and people were looking at other agencies' cases. Had no reason to do that. We looked at that, addressed it accordingly, and addressed it. One of the cases was at the sheriff's office, and we addressed it. They looked at it, they determined that that was a training issue. They handled it internally. But to answer that question, it's unacceptable. If you use the county computer system for personal business, and you use the county car for personal business, and you use the county credit card for personal business, it's all unacceptable. And employees will be held accountable.
All right, Zach, would you like me to reread the question? All right. How would you handle finding out an employee of the department used the computer for personal use, business, or inappropriate emails?
Well, we've had this several times as a supervisor. It's happened when I was in Big on Lake, it happened when I was the captain of the mental parts, it happened when I was chief of investigative. So to say that this is something that is unusual would be an understatement, because unfortunately it happens all the time. The thing we have to do is we have to set the foundation with our employees so they understand right from the get-go that that computer is yours, the data that's contained on that computer is yours, and it's subject to scrutiny, observation, review, and even any type of request of a record, of any type of record that is on it. You have to have all the employees understand that the records that are contained on that computer are public, they're open for review, as I said, and in addition to that, they're fully exculpable to everybody out there. So treat the computer, treat everything that you own, treat all property as that is the property of the people. No computer is ours, no phone is ours, no pager in the days. I think Rich can remember those days as well too. Those don't belong to us, they belong to the people. And then when we take that oath of office and we explain to everybody that we're here to protect you from that. We're here to protect you from the people who misuse the equipment of the people. And that's what the computers are, Russ, that's what all the documents are in the records. So therefore, that has resulted in many levels of discipline that have happened, anywhere from written reprimands to verbal counseling, and in some cases termination, when the use of those products have either risen to the level of shocking the conscience of the community, or in addition to that, have resulted in issues in which the fine or infraction that had taken place was so substantial that it resulted in a termination. Usually those issues are progressive discipline, but it can result in any form of progressive discipline or termination. They are the people's computers, they are the people's records.
All right. This sounds bad. Let's see what we can do.
Can we have? We need you guys' mics to be turned up. Is that able to be done from the end here? Okay.
Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. Also turn it right down in front of the company so this. Like this. Okay. All right. That's better.
Yeah, we can hear you two just fine, but Russ, we can't hear you read the questions, so we might need
There, how's that?
right. But on the stream, we might need you to read the questions as you get them.
Okay. Oh, I got you. This is the question we are reading now. For Jack first, do officers have a financial quota that they accept to meet through issuing citations or tickets? Is there a quota set up that you guys will expect your officers to turn in every month?
I would absolutely hope not. And the fact is that any type of issuance of a citation, and that could be a traffic citation, that could be a misdemeanor citation, anything in issuing a ticket, there shouldn't be any quota. It should be based on the fact that we're looking for corrective action, meaning that we're looking for people to come into compliance with something. So, the purpose of a citation or that we have, is something to get you out to the community. We want to make sure that if there is any type of enforcement action that is taken, that enforcement action is taken for the purposes of corrective action. And we don't have to write tickets in those cases. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that we have talked about in one of our town hall meetings recently is if we have minor traffic violations such as burned out license plate lights, no bright lights, loud muffler, things like that. We need to start taking these issues, and instead of them being problems for us, we need them to be solutions and opportunities for everybody in the community. One of the suggestions that we came up with is being able to use the Lorraine County JDS in the automotive program for something like a traffic infraction that would be cracked into a muffler, tail light, and everything else. We work with companies in the county such as Napa, AutoZone, and Napa, that work with JDS to be able to put those programs together. But there would be a 30-day period on that corrective order, that the driver could take that vehicle out in JDS, meet the students that are in the JDS automotive program, engineers and seniors out there, and allow them to fix the vehicle either at free or no cost, depending on, the sponsorship from the companies that are looking at that. That way, the kids learn, they're being able to put their skills to work that they're learning in a vocational setting. The driver doesn't get cited for what it is, but they understand that they can bring the vehicle into a corrective order to meet the Ohio driving laws and vehicle safety laws. And then in addition to that as well, is that the school resource officer, the deputy that would be handling that JDS, would be able to sign off on that corrective order, and so therefore, we learn, the kids learn. They got an opportunity through their vocational skills, and in addition to that, we didn't actually have to issue a citation. The budget of the sheriff's office and the budget of local police departments should never be made upon the fact that we need a certain level of money, certain tickets and infractions or anything else.
2 minutes. Thank you. I was listening to the answer of that. Wasn't paying attention. Once again, Rich, the officers have a financial quota that they expect to meet through this learning citation.
I'll give you a short answer. The answer is no. When we're asking these questions, it's not that I always have to disagree with any point that Jack makes. And sometimes we can agree, and to agree with Jack and say, no, there's no quota. There isn't. I've never worked for a department that had a quota. There's other things that the department can do, that the agency can do to put their time to good use. Traffic enforcement, is a way to move traffic. If there's an issue, if there's high traffic, if there's constant speeders, if there's just reckless operators in the area, well, then you do the targeted enforcement. If that targeted enforcement relates to violations, and there's discretion that the officer can use. Officers have discretion all the time. They can either issue a ticket or not issue a ticket. But to have a quota and say, hey, you need to do X amount of tickets, is not something that I would condone, enforce, or have any of the officers that we did. Thank you.
We have you move your lavalier mics further up.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. We got it.
Rich, could you try talking real quick?
1, 2, 3.
Once more.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Is it possible you could put it up, maybe on your collar? Yeah.
Rich, if either one of us gains enough weight during this campaign, we could put the
Yeah. 1, 2, is that better? 1, 2, 3.
One more time.
4, 5. 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So,
Maybe up here. I don't know if that would be too impeding, but sorry about that.
test 1, 2.
One more.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Test.
That sounds better on our end. All right.
Ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go again. Ready? Two things, they're using county resources as email. We already did this one, I think. So we're gonna, and run them up. Okay, yep, I think you should. Okay, what mental health changes need to be made in the jail to assist with care for the mental well-being, I got it, of the inmates? You want me to read that again, Johnny? Okay. Great question. Over the course of time, the jail, any jail, the county jail, the prisons, they turn into the dumping ground for the mental health field. Not necessarily the field, but that's where people ended up that had mental health issues. That's not the place for that. You know, the county has a small mental health area, a special needs pod at the county. We have counselors at the county. We have mental health people at the county. But that's not the place. You know, we train our deputies, we train the corrections in CIP, corrections intervention training. That just has to continue. All the officers should be trained on that. But that's just the beginning. Additional training for the officers would enhance their ability to recognize an individual, a resident, an inmate that is going through a crisis. You know, if you have that basic training, then you have the ability to act accordingly. And if you act accordingly, then that probably, hopefully, not result in any undue or unnecessary force, which, as we all know, has been maybe an issue throughout the county. But the training, knowing the staff knowing the inmates. And again, we have a medical staff, we have a mental health staff, we have a special needs pod. That needs to be enhanced. So, but working with our local mental health agencies here in the county, we have to have a partnership. And that partnership will result in placing the individual that has a mental health issue in the proper channel to get to that. All right, Jack, would you like me to reread the question? Yes. What mental health changes need made in the jail to assist with care for the mental well-being of the inmates?
Well, Russ, when we talk about a change, the first change that has to be made is basically reconstruction of the entire jail and tearing down of the old jail. The current jail right now, we don't have appropriate space. We have been to engage in counseling sessions with their therapists and with the counselors inside the jail. And with no space to be able to do that, it makes it very difficult for the counselors to be able to do their job, and also those women that are in for those opportunities to actually receive the appropriate services. The other problem that we have that a lot of people don't understand with the jail is that if any of our residents enter a jail, either they're over the age to get Medicaid or if they meet the federal poverty level to receive Medicaid. Under federal and state law, once those people enter the jail, their Medicaid benefits evaporate at that point in time, and that all becomes the responsibility of all of us as taxpayers. Now, we have excellent community resource programs through the Ward Center and through our counselors in the jail that provide those services for the inmates that are in there, but again, that's another cost that comes on to all of us. So by making sure that we have the most efficient facilities available, we have to make sure that we're balancing the cost and efficiencies of what we're doing with mental health and effectively build a new jail that's going to be able to handle that. Now, we're not looking here just to spend money or build a new jail, folks. What I'm talking about is that the current facility that we have is absolutely deplorable. And mental health issues and substance abuse issues account for the majority of all the inmates that we have in Lorain County Jail. And Lorain County is not alone in this. This is the same with every other county around the state. So therefore, we have to make sure that when we deal with the current county commissioners, who, as I understand, there's some friction in regards to taking the appropriate levels of advice from the people who work in the jail right now, we have to take the people that work in there, taking their advice, take it to the county commissioners, and make sure that we get the right jail built for not only the inmates regularly in there, but for all mental health and substance abuse issues that we have going forward.
You understand right on time, I like it. Gonna move over to Jack, second card, please. I regret to say that, I gotta put this one down as one of the candidates' names starting in, so we're just not doing it, you guys. This is to find out who is the best fit to run your sheriff's department.
Does it have your name, Russ?
Oh, Russ. Oh, sorry. Now, anyway, how do you plan to increase training for law enforcement and the criminal justice system on the subjects of autism, developmental disabilities, special needs, and mental health conditions? I think that's a little different than the last question because it's kind of broad. So, Rich first. I'm sorry, Jack Tobin, Jack first.
Okay, no problem. The issue going on right now with autism training, mental health training, et cetera, is that, Rich alluded to it earlier about the CIP training that we have that the officers go through. That is a basis that we need for essentially handling different types of situations that happen in the community. What we've already done now, 3 years in a row with my campaign, is that we have actually facilitated free training with autism awareness training through the community organizations in Northeast Ohio to allow the officers to engage in de-escalation, to engage in appropriate interaction with people with developmental disorders, mental health issues, as well as neurological disorders. Now, we have to make sure that we also, as officers, identify that everything is not what is called a mental health issue. We have developmental disabilities. We also have neurological disabilities where the autism spectrum also falls into it as well. In addition to that, our universities figured out that autism is increasingly engaging in higher populations of the public and how we deal with those populations on a regular basis. So we do have phenomenal organizations out there currently that train officers, that engage in this training throughout the state of Ohio, and this is the best part, they do it for free. They are more than happy to come out to train all of us. They are more than happy to engage in this, which every officer receives CIP training and then basic training in autism awareness, dealing with mental health issues, and developmental disabilities. So with that in mind, we have to take that training and apply that to the basis of all our deputies and officers that are out there. Then we have to step it up a little bit. We have specialties like SWAT. We almost need to have like a mental health SWAT team. One of the things we've already suggested is the CREW, the Community Resource Unit. The Community Resource Unit we've already proposed is comprised of deputies that are intensely trained mental health, neurological disorders in the community, and to be able to handle that and use a counselor from inside the jail who's probably already dealt with these issues with the person in the community and won't be afraid of somebody flipping the car over in the driveway to do that, as we've seen these programs fail in other places across the United States. So by combining our mental health staff in the jail and the deputies, we can make everything better for the community.
Rich, would you like me to reread that question?
No, I think,
Okay.
when you talk about autism, that is something near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to tell you why. I have a grandson who's 5 years old who was diagnosed with autistic behavior. 5 years ago, I couldn't talk about autism. Today, this is something that I'm fully aware of. You have to realize what triggers episodes, whether it's lights, whether it's sounds, whether it's just the way they communicate. My grandson is very intelligent, and he, at 5 years old, he'll tell you things that a 5-year-old should not tell you, and it's amazing. And you realize the value, the intelligence of them. So having done that, I have been, and my wife have been involved in a couple people that have autistic children. And what we need to do is we need to get an example of as Jack said, maybe a response team, not necessarily of deputies, but deputies need to be trained, corrections need to be trained, but we need to engage the community. We need to engage the community on how to respond. So if somebody is in crisis, somebody goes missing, a child needs to be located, we say, hey, who knows this child and what triggers this child? So we can respond accordingly, because if you send somebody that's not properly trained, it could end up in tragedy. And you have to be aware of
the spectrum of whatever this child is dealing with. So to engage the community in a response to that is what I'm all about.
All right, thank you, Rich. We're gonna have you choose the next question. Anywhere in there.
Oh boy, it's like dealing cards.
Pick a card, pick a card. All right, this is for Rich. What protocols will be established to ensure police violence does not occur here in Lorain County?
You know, police violence, you're talking about unauthorized uses of force. That comes down to training. You know, we have X amount of police officers. There's probably 60 deputies on the Lorain County Sheriff's Office throughout the different units. If they're trained properly, they know what the use of force is and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. When excessive force is used, again, it goes back to maybe the first question of the unauthorized use of a computer system. You know, you have to hold people accountable. You have to look at the situation and deal with that in a proper, contractual, swift manner. You know, uses of forces, they're going to happen. It's the acceptable uses of forces. You know, any excessive force is always, always unacceptable. So more training, not only classroom training, but maybe physical training, some control techniques. This all plays together with a proper training program that the agency needs to have. You know, just not the minimum, you need to exceed that. You need to exceed that benchmark and provide a professional officer. So my answer to that would be more training and make the deputies better throughout whatever they do. Thank you.
All right, Rich, would you like me to repeat the question, Jeff?
Yes, please.
What protocols will be established to ensure police violence does not occur in Lorain County?
All right, I'm going to focus first on the word police violence. And when I think of police violence, I think of interactions of police with other people. And violence means that police come under subject of violent attack as well. It's a violent job and it's a hard job to do. And when we look at police violence, we have to look at a couple things in different manners and factors. Number one, was somebody not in the right state of mind? And so when we talk about things, going back to the last question with mental health in the community, we also have to look at having established, when we talk about protocols, talking about having an appropriate registry in place through 911. So therefore, when the officers are responding to a call, they go to an address or they're dealing with the subject. If that subject is voluntarily in a registry that states that they suffer from some type of neurological disorder, mental or developmental disability, or mental issue that's going on, we want to make sure that the officers who are responding to that situation are armed with that in the first place. So the first protocol that comes into place is information that's made through a voluntary registry of who we're dealing with. Because many times it's substance abuse situations and it's also mental health situations, which will address that and cause violence toward the officer. And if the officer's not prepared to deal with it, then we have the violent situation. In many less common situations, we have somebody is just absolutely upset. They're mad at a situation that happened at home that day, that work, they came home to a horrific situation. It's a domestic violence situation, and the police have to come in and get involved. And in those particular situations, we have to make sure that our police are trained appropriately. And we also need to understand, just going back to the computer question, our body cams, video cams, any type of camera that's out there in the community that is recording our interaction with the public, we as officers have to be aware that we're on stage 24/7. And we have a lot of training already. We have a lot of things that the officers do to do this, but we also have to have an administration that's going to bring the officers and the community together to have a joint understanding in what police violence is.
Thank you, Jack. All right, we're gonna get Jack a question here and see what happens now.
All right.
Oh, don't take that one.
Not that one?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, the one with the red dot on it?
Yeah.
All right. Without putting your opponent down, Give us the 5 reasons the voters of Lorraine County should elect you. Jack.
Oh, all right. 5 reasons you said? Number one is that we talk about experience, but we have to talk about the diversity of experience. I've worked in everything from small departments to medium-sized departments to extremely large departments. So it's that diversity of experience and the diversity of the communities that I have been able to work with. Everywhere from someplace small and rural, when Sheffield Village started out 30 years ago, there were 2 of us on the road, if we were lucky, to cover the entire road, to going to a suburban community like Avon Lake and having that experience. The best experience I ever had was actually going to the Cleveland Metro Parks, as many of our parks were surrounded by urban areas. Some of them were not in great condition, and the Cleveland Park District was the only thing that the community had available to them for any type of recreation or anything else to do in the community. So a lot of different people came together in those environments, and we had to work with a lot of different cultures to be able to make sure that we were not over policing the community. So when we look at that as well too, with the diversity of experience, number 2 would be budget. That department that I had, we generated a 1.3 million. In addition to that, our capital budget, sometimes we were dealing with $2.5 million a year and being responsible for resources that were spread out all over 5 counties. In addition to that too, we have a communications issue in Lorraine County between our current radio system and one that's proposed. I've developed 2 countywide radio systems, the one in Cuyahoga County, which was a Marks radio system, and the one in Medina County, which is a Harris L3 radio system. So I had experience with both of those. With that, though, also takes into place and making sure that you have the appropriate resources in Columbus to bring the state together, the funding, the resources, to be able to make sure that all happens and to be able to talk to those people, bring them together. And last but not least is making sure that we ensure that trust in our community, trust in our officers, and make sure that we can harmoniously work together. And I have done that time and time again in all of my positions.
Thank you, Jack. Rich, you want me to read it again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Without putting your opponent down, give us the 5 reasons the voters of Lorraine County should elect you.
Thank you. As we opened up tonight, we talked about experience. 27 years at the Lorraine Police Department. I left there at the rank of lieutenant. During my duties at the Police Department, not only was I a road officer, I was a supervisor in the Detective Bureau. I was an administrative assistant to Chief Rivera my last couple years there. I worked out of the chief's office. My only requirement there, according to the chief, and God bless his soul, was to be there when the chief wasn't there. So if the chief wasn't there, I ran the chief's office. But the majority of my career, I spent in narcotics. I was a narcotics detective. I knew how to investigate narcotics crimes. I knew how to build cases, not only local cases to close the crack house in your neighborhood, but federal cases. I worked those cases. I know how that happens. When I left the Lorraine Police Department, after leaving, going to the sheriff's office, my experience is in law enforcement, corrections, and attending to the needs of the Common Pleas Court. But wait a minute, that sounds like the 3 mandated functions of the sheriff's office per the revised code. Providing the public peace, and I was the director of law enforcement. Running the jail, I was the director of corrections. Attending to the needs of the Common Pleas Court. I currently work at the Lorraine County Justice Center at the Lorraine County Prosecutor's Office. We deal with the courts every day. So based on that, I possess the experience to do the job. And again, that's what this race is all about. That allows me the ability on day 1, hour 1, minute 1, when I step in that office, to pick up the phone and build the relationships that need to be built. I don't need to introduce myself, but I can pick up the phone and contact people right then and there from day 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Rich, it is your turn to pick a ticket.
Yeah, I never get the end over here, but someone take the end.
There you go. Here we go. What has prepared you to be the next sheriff if elected?
Well, I think the major preparation for sheriff and being elected is, again, we're going to bring the word experience up, but it comes down to the issues in regards to major budgeting experience with a very, very large regional law enforcement agency, the connections with the federal agencies, the connections with the state, In addition to that, we have many large venues that happen here in Lorain County. One of them particularly in Lorain at Black River Landing, with the events that happen down there on, the weekends with the Rockin' on the River events. My experience with planning the Ninth International Gay Games with the City of Cleveland, the City of Akron, the FBI, the federal agencies, that created the foundation for the precipice for the security plan for the 2016 Republican National Convention, which I was involved with as well. So when we look at being able to take all of this experience and that we talk about, we also have to understand that experience is an individual thing. It's an individual entity that we have. So I'm sitting across from Rich right now, and both of us could go to the exact same event, the exact same training, but we're going to come out of there with two different experiences. And so what prepares us best to do this job is to make sure that we create relationships with the community. I've created those relationships in the community, especially in Cuyahoga County and Cleveland, and the diverse communities that made up those neighborhoods. We had parks right next to Cadell Recreation Center. That's where the situation with Tamir Rice happened, where we had, thank you, Russ, that unfortunate situation that happened there, that officers were engaging in excessive use of force. To deal with the community and to deal with the outcome of a situation like that takes its toll on not only the officers who were engaged in that, the family that was engaged in that, the clergy that was engaged in that, but how do we mend after something like that happens? And to be able to explain to the community why the actions we did what we did. Sometimes a court's not going to find that we did those actions correctly, but healing the community.
Thank you, Jack. Rich, want me to repeat it?
Please.
What has prepared you to be the next sheriff if elected?
40 plus years of being a Lorain County law enforcement officer. I've built relationships here in Lorain County. Those relationships are with the biggest departments here in Lorain County. As we say in law enforcement, there's three big boys here in Lorain County: Lorain County Sheriff's Office, the Lorain Police Department, and the Elyria Police Department. I could tell you that I have the personal support of the chiefs of both of those departments. That, again, Chief Pelko and Chief McCann, they have pledged their personal support, and again, because they're chiefs of police, they're speaking on behalf of themselves, not as a chief, but I can pick up the phone, as I said earlier. I can get the resources. We can help them, they can help us. Building relationships, it's not an overnight thing. It takes time, it takes trust, it takes confidence, and I've done that. That's prepared me for this position. Again, Lorain County, always Lorain County. And I'm very proud of that, of building the relationships. I was a federal task force officer for Homeland Security. When I worked at the Drug Task Force, we had a partnership with the DEA. We can pick up the phone. We partnership with the Secret Service. I'm an FBI National Academy graduate. I can pick up the phone and call the FBI and get the resources, get the information. And again, it's all about working together. So it's relationships. That's what's prepared me for this position.
All right, thank you, Rich. Jack, we're going to have you pick the next one.
I'll go right in the middle there for you.
I'll let you folks see it. And you'll
I trust you.
All right. What do you consider the biggest issue with the Sheriff's Department, and what is your plan to fix it?
Can you?
Oh,
yeah,
right.
that's.
Yeah, you go.
Okay. The biggest issue over the last couple of years, the agency has taken a hit. I've talked to officers both in the corrections division and in the road division, 25-year officers that have worked there, that have put their whole career there. And you know what they tell me? It's a terrible place to work. Right now, the atmosphere is not good. It's not a good environment. It's not a positive environment. That environment needs a change. That atmosphere needs a change. It's just like We all watch TV and we all see the Ohio State waterproofing commercial, right? You got to fix your cracked basement before you build up on your foundation. Well, that foundation is the men and women of the sheriff's office. They need to be taken care of. They need to be included. They need in the decision-making process. And I'm not talking about turning over the keys to the hotel there. I'm talking about decision-making. Bring them in. Tell them what your plans are. Get a buy-in and get to some discussions. They do the job. Sometimes as administrators, we sit behind a desk and we make decisions for people out there in the street. I don't know that that's the best way to run an agency. It's all about, my job is to give the tools to the men and women that do the job. Provide them the tools, provide them the resources. So one of the issues at the sheriff's office, again, would be changing the atmosphere, making it a more positive atmosphere, allowing the officers some input into the decision-making process, and work with them. So again, fixing the foundation, working with the officers, making that place, the Lorain County Sheriff's Office, a place where you want to work. In law enforcement right now, everybody's taken from everybody else's department. If you don't like this department, you can go over to this department for lateral entry. We're losing officers at the sheriff's office. We should be attracting officers, and you do that by a variety of ways, but you need to change the atmosphere.
All right, thank you, Rich. Jack, would you like me to reread the question?
Actually, I'll take right off on that one for right now. I actually, when I started running for this office, I thought Phil Stometti was going to be my opponent in this race, and he decided last August that he was not. So 3 years ago, we started going around to each corner of this county to find out from all of you what the issue was with the sheriff's office. The issue is that you have no relationship with the sheriff's office. Many of you have also said that you don't have relationships with your local police departments. Many of you have stated is that you're not trusting of law enforcement, that you're not trusting of the sheriff's office. Many of you have said that you don't see a car anywhere. We've talked about the lower 206 square miles of Lorain County, and everybody down there says it's a miracle if I see a deputy come through my township or my area on a regular basis. The issue is that I understand what Rich is saying, but I can't agree with him on this because all of you don't care what's going on inside the sheriff's office. What I will agree with Rich, though, that is our job as sheriff, to make the Lorain County Sheriff's Office the premier agency. We're the premier police officers who understand how they work with the community, understand how they're trusted by the community, and understand how they can serve the community, come to roost at the Lorain County Sheriff's Office and want to work there. When we talk about being inclusive, our campaign motto is inclusion cultivates excellence. That inclusion means working with the men and women, the corrections officers, the deputies, and the administrative staff inside the sheriff's office to say, what do we need to do better to do our job to serve the public? Then we need to take that to the community and say, how can we serve you as the community better? And I'm going to tell you, there's 1,000 questions and 1,000 answers that all of you have out there to do that, to make these improvements. It not only has to be done to build the foundation inside the sheriff's office, it has to be done to restore and heal the community as well.
All right, thank you, Jack. We are going to have Jack pick the next one. All right. It's a good question. Have either one of the candidates been subjected to major disciplinary action throughout your careers? And if yes, please explain.
Can we have more than 2 minutes? Or?
2 minutes at the end of these.
Gotcha.
So.
All right.
Do you want me to reread the question?
Oh, no.
Okay.
All right. I just want to know when you were ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. In regards to major disciplinary action, I was subject to one time being suspended for a few days when I was with the Avon Lake Police Department. That suspension was based on an issue in which we had a major investigation that took place for auto thefts around Lorain County. For the older officers, and I think Rich will even remember this name, Ricky Frazier was a target of, the whole family was involved in stealing things, et cetera. And so in those days, we had to put a GPS, you just didn't slap it up under the car. We had to hardwire this into the car. And so our confidential informant said that we were going to be watching this guy, Ricky Frazier, break into cars on the west side of Cleveland. Now, many of you may think the west side of Cleveland would be Westlake, Lakewood, maybe, North Olmsted. So we started tailing this guy, and we went all the way out to Sandusky, State Route 250 out in Sandusky. There are a couple old-time drug task force people that were with us. It was Avon Lake Police Department, the drug task force, and Elyria Police Department that were helping us with this. So what happened was that we had a subject that was in the parking lot of a hotel on State Route 250. He said on the radio, he's got the eyes on the rabbit, which was our target of the investigation, Ricky Frazier. Next thing we tell him, no, you don't, because he's heading northbound on State Route 250 going up towards Sandusky right now. This particular officer looked in the parking lot, found out that 27 cars were broken into right under his nose, and he didn't see what happened. So we requested a stop to be made of the vehicle, which the Highway Patrol was supposed to do it, but another agency called Perkins Township got involved. There was a high-speed chase during the summer, as you can imagine, in Cedar Point traffic. Thankfully, nobody was injured. There were no crashes. There were no damages. The subject was apprehended, but I was called into the office for basically stupid behavior of allowing this to happen. So in the end, we had a great case. The subject was put away for several years, but I was the sergeant running the operation. The buck stopped with me. I had to take responsibility for it. I didn't get 3 days off. I appealed it, but I was subject to major discipline for that. So.
All right, Rich, would you like me to reread the question? All right, here we go.
I'm going to save you a lot of time on this one, Russ. The answer to the question is no, I've never, ever received any major discipline. In my 40-plus years, and thinking back, I believe at the Lorain Police Department, I was written up twice. Back in the day, the chief would say, explain to me why you did A or why you did B, Chief Melanowski at the time. And the 2 times I had to explain, and for the officers that are in the audience, you know how the uniform goes. You had to have certain color buttons on your winter shirt, and one day I went to work and I didn't have those buttons on. And the lieutenant said, you don't have buttons on, leave the chief a letter. So that was one verbal counseling that I got. The second one was I was late. I was late for work one time because I was playing an athletic sport. I was playing touch football, and our game ran a little bit over, and I had explained my actions of why my law enforcement career was not as important as my athletic career, and that was a quick choice. So, no, I've never, ever in 40-plus years received any substantial discipline.
All right, thank you. Good pick.
Okay.
That's right. Some of you have very nice handwriting. Others need to go back to school. All right, this is a good one here. They're all good questions, don't get me wrong. Some are easier to read than others. Of the various responsibilities of the sheriff, what do you believe is the single most important? Rich.
That's a very good question, a very tough question, because if you live in the townships, you want to see a deputy. You want to see that patrol officer come through. Right now we're operating with 3 deputies for maybe the 8th or 9th largest county here in Ohio. And, local departments that are a lot smaller, they're working with a greater number of officers. So to work with 3 officers throughout the county is unacceptable. And that's a major problem for the 18 townships. The cities have their own police departments, but the townships, they expect to see a deputy. That's their law enforcement. But the cities also, what do they get for their money, for their tax money? They get the jail. If you look at the crime rates, the cities, just by the nature of the beast, Lorraine and Elyria, they're probably the most biggest contributors to the jail. So as I say, to the city residents, we house the people that are committing crime in your area, your city. We put them away and we hold them there. So those two things are so close in importance. You can't do one without the other. But thank you. The townships, they need to see a deputies, and those deputies need to increase. We need to get a greater patrol out there for the 18 townships. But we also need to take care of the corrections people, and a new jail's coming. It's not going to be here today, and it's not going to be here next year because of all the discussions that the commissioners are having, but it's coming. And that new jail needs to take care of the corrections officers.
All right, thank you, Rich. Jack, would you like me to reread this?
Yeah, please.
Of the various responsibilities of the sheriff, what do you believe is the single most important?
I would say the single most important responsibility is that the sheriff has to listen. The sheriff has to listen to his men and women in the department. The sheriff has to listen to his men and women in the community. The sheriff has to be engaged and has to be active in those communities. Some of the most successful sheriffs that we see across this country, I'll say Sheriff Carmine Marcino, for example, down in Lee County, Florida, has an amazing program. They call it Paradise. As a matter of fact, they use the little Guns N' Roses song, Paradise City, every time that they have a major video or anything else, because they have some of the major tourist destinations and all that down in Lee County, Florida. But he says, we're here to make Paradise safe. And when the sheriff goes out there with all the large cities that are in Lee County also, you see Sheriff Marcino out there constantly with the community, constantly building up community relationships, having community fairs, the media interaction that they're having, and the back and forth that they have in regards to video podcasts that take care every week. They call it LCSO Live, Lee County Sheriff's Office Live, that they do down there. And so these are the types of situations when you bring the members of the community in, because as we talked about inclusion, cultivating excellence earlier, we have to talk about policing of certain areas. And going back to a meeting that we had with a group called El Centro in Lorraine, and sorry, Elyria folks, I have to take this as an example, but El Centro is an organization that represents the Hispanic community in Lorraine, and 81% of the Hispanic population in Lorraine is Puerto Rican. And so when El Centro was talking about being over-policed by the federal agency, specifically ICE, coming into the community, talking about immigration issues, talking about issues with detainers in the jail, 81% of that population are American citizens. How did ICE miss that Puerto Rico is a commonwealth of the United States? So therefore, we have to make sure that we listen to our communities and how they also want to be policed and how we interact with that. So listening, Russ, is the most important job that a sheriff can do.
All right, thank you, Jack.
Are you like hinting one there? Or?
No, just dig in and find
All right.
All right, Jack, if elected sheriff, what programs are you planning to implement for better community involvement with the citizens and officers? Reason, it seems police are giving bad name with violence, or given bad name with violence.
Okay, so we're talking about programs that we would put in place for. All right, we actually have 15 programs that we'll be putting in place, and we're not going to bore you all with them tonight, but if you go to our website, you can look on there as well. One of the programs that we're going to be putting in for the community is what we call our warden program. Now, based on physical population of every single political subdivision in the county, it'll be a minimum of 2 to a maximum of 4 wardens that will represent every single political subdivision. And what we mean by that is you, citizens of the 5th Ward, citizens of Elyria, citizens of LaGrange Township, Wellington Township, that will actually be meeting every single week with the sheriff's office. So Tuesday, when we have our command staff meeting with the upper command of the sheriff's office, the very next meeting is with the wardens, the community members that are representing the community. We are going to have discussions with those wardens of what we just talked about in the command staff meeting on how we get our message out to the community, and more importantly, how you get your message to us. Perfect example of this would be, we have somebody that goes to a North Ridgeville council meeting, they're complaining about heavy truck traffic on the street. And they don't think that the North Ridgeville Police Department is doing something about it. It's because we have certain resources that North Ridgeville may not, which are weights and measures units. Our captain of road patrol operations calls the chief and says, hey, can our weights and measures unit come out? Your officer ride with us, and the trucks that are overweight, the money goes to the city of North Ridgeville. So our wardens will be picking up hints that are going on in the community, bringing it back to the sheriff's office. And this is actually how we can also help a city that is not a township as well, with the resources that we have to provide to the city department, to all of you. The chief answers to a mayor safety director. The sheriff answers to nearly all 320,000 of you in Lorain County.
Thank you, Jack. Rich, would you like me to reread it?
No, I'm good.
All right.
A couple of the programs that I think need to be reintroduced that have been at the sheriff's office, and I'll give you one example, is maybe the environmental crimes. The environmental crimes unit was funded through the solid waste organization, the agency through the county. Their function was to go into the townships and to go into the cities, and they were very effective in the cities because sometimes the cities can't handle that particular issue. You know, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the expertise. The environmental crimes is a program that can help the residents here in Ward 5 and all the residents in all the cities, because you have to be able to be proud of your neighborhood. So they come in and they look and they say, hey, somebody's dumping at this particular vacant lot, or maybe this particular abandoned house. They come in and they set up and they do an investigation to find out who's dumping. So the environmental crimes is a very positive, very productive function of the sheriff's office. Very briefly, I need to reorganize the drug task force. As they sit today, I don't know that they're as effective as they could be. They don't work a lot with other agencies. I need to mend those fences. So those are the two priorities that I would do and institute immediately.
All right, we have exactly 3 minutes. I want a minute and a half for each one of them to close out here. So you want to start with Rich, minute and a half, please.
Thank you. All night long, you've heard about what we're going to do. You know, my whole platform, my whole pitch to the voters of Lorain County, to the people in this room, to the residents of Ward 5, you know, is look at my experience. Again, I mentioned that before. I'm an FBI National Academy graduate. I was named one of the top cops in 1997 due to an incident that allowed me to go to the FBI Academy. One of the top cops in the country. Those are things I'm very proud of, and I bring that credibility, I bring those resources here to the county. The sheriff can't do it himself. He needs partnerships, and those partnerships come with endorsements, come with supports, come with trust, and that's what that means. So again, I appreciate the time tonight. Russ, I appreciate everybody that showed up tonight, and look at my resume, look at what I bring to the table. And from day one, I can fill the shoes of the sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Jack.
Well, in closing, we have to say not what we've done, but what we're going to do for you, or what we're doing now. I have taken an oath of office 8 times, and with your grace and your vote coming this November, I will take an oath of office in January of 2025 for the 9th time. I am making a commitment with taking that oath of office for the 9th time to all of you that I'm going to protect you from political appointees in this county that exploit their offices to cover up their bosses of their elected officials' actions. We're going to protect you from allegations that have been made against our officers, our corrections officers, and our police by unfounded complaints that have made by citizens, and make sure that we have an understanding of those citizenry interactions with our police officers and corrections officers, and that we correct it and protect both the community and the officers from those unfounded complaints. And lastly, in taking that oath, I'm going to make a commitment to promise all of you that we will protect you from any type of misuse of government equipment, from any type of issues of public corruption that is going on in Lorain County. And quite frankly, I am tired of hearing over the course of the last several months especially from people in surrounding counties, that, my God, you guys look like mid-90s Youngstown, Mahoning County right now. We need to fix that. We need to get rid of the public corruption. We need to fix Lorain County, and I promise you I will do that with taking my 9th oath of office in January of 2025. Thank you, Russ, and thank you for everybody for having us here
Ladies and
tonight.
gentlemen, let's get a hand for these guys. They say punctuality is the key. We've only got everybody 12 seconds at this point, so thank you very much for being here. Watch for July 25th. We'll have Tony Sillo and J.D. Tomlinson right here to talk about the prosecutor's office. So thanks a lot for being here. Watch for those tickets. They're always free, but you gotta text in or email to get those tickets. Good night, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Thanks.